React Native app development, cost, timeline, and what affects both. Welcome back. Today's topic is React Native app development, cost, timeline, and what affects both. We'll cover what you actually need to know about React Native app development. Now, next up, how much does React Native app development cost? React Native app development costs $25,000 to $60,000 for simple apps, $60,000 to $150,000 for mid-complexity projects, and $150,000 to $250,000 plus for enterprise applications. Those ranges shift based on team geography, feature scope, back-end complexity, and compliance requirements. Timeline follows a similar pattern: 8 to 14 weeks for MVPs, 4 to 8 months for full-featured apps, and 9 to 18 months for enterprise builds. At this level, you're typically looking at 3 to 4 core screens, a single user role, basic authentication, and a REST API consuming data from an existing backend. Think a company directory app, a simple booking flow, or a read-only dashboard. Development time usually runs 8 to 14 weeks with a team of 2 to 3 engineers. React Native Expo accelerates this tier significantly. Expo's managed workflow handles native build configuration automatically, cutting project setup from 3 to 5 days to a few hours. For straightforward consumer apps with no custom native code, Expo is worth evaluating from day one. Next up, let's talk about what affects your React Native development budget. Understanding the cost tiers is useful, but knowing why a project lands where it does is more useful. Here are the factors that move your number most. A React Native developer in Eastern Europe typically bills $40 to $75 per hour. In South Asia, rates drop to $25 to $50 per hour. North American or Western European developers run $100 to $180 per hour. For a 2,000-hour project, that difference alone is $50,000 to $260,000. Offshore teams can work well, but time zone gaps and communication overhead add hidden costs that pure rate comparisons don't capture. Every feature has a real cost. A basic push notification setup takes 2 to 4 hours. A fully custom in-app chat system takes 80 to 120 hours. Real-time location tracking with geofencing adds another 60 to 80 hours. Most apps can stay in JavaScript, but Bluetooth hardware integration, certain camera features, and AR capabilities require writing native code in Swift or Kotlin. Native module development costs 2-3x more than pure React Native work and requires engineers who know both ecosystems. Now, next up, React Native app development timelines by project type. Budget and timeline are inseparable. Here's what realistic delivery looks like, without the optimistic assumptions that often appear in vendor proposals. An MVP should ship the one core user flow that validates your product assumption. 8 weeks is achievable with a disciplined scope. 14 weeks usually means scope expanded in week 3. Using React Native Expo's managed workflow trims native build setup and keeps MVPs closer to the 8 to 10 week mark for apps without complex native dependencies. A production-ready app with all planned features, thorough testing, and App Store and Play Store approvals typically takes 4 to 9 months. The wide range reflects integration complexity. An app that connects to 5 enterprise systems takes considerably longer than one that talks to a single clean API. Building automated CI/CD pipelines through Azure DevOps consulting services at this stage reduces deployment friction significantly on every subsequent release. Next up, moving on to React Native versus Flutter, which should you choose? This comparison comes up in nearly every mobile project scoping conversation. Here's a direct answer. React Native uses JavaScript and a bridge to communicate with native components. For most business applications, this is not a performance bottleneck. Flutter compiles to native ARM code, which gives it an edge in graphics-intensive scenarios like games or heavily animated interfaces. For forms, dashboards, e-commerce flows, and enterprise tools, both frameworks perform comparably in production. React Native's official documentation notes that the framework runs in production at Facebook, Instagram, and Microsoft at scale. Zomato, one of the largest food delivery platforms in Asia, also uses React Native for its customer app, handling tens of millions of daily sessions. That level of production validation matters when evaluating enterprise readiness. Next up, now, where Azure and Power Platform fit into mobile projects. React Native handles the client layer. The backend is a separate decision that significantly affects your total project cost, scalability ceiling, and long-term maintenance burden. Many enterprise React Native apps sit on top of Azure infrastructure. Azure Notification Hubs for push, Azure Active Directory B2C for consumer identity, Azure API Management as a gateway layer, and Azure Cosmos DB for globally distributed data are common choices. If your organization already uses Microsoft infrastructure, this cuts integration time considerably and gives your security team a familiar compliance surface. An Azure architecture review before development begins can identify whether existing on-premise systems need Azure app modernization work before they can support a mobile integration layer. Partnering with an Azure migration partner for this phase often saves more in avoided rework than the assessment itself costs. Teams migrating from on-premise data to cloud-backed mobile backends benefit specifically from Azure Cloud Migration Services designed for phased transitions rather than big bang cutovers. Now, next up, how to choose a React Native development partner. The technical criteria matter less than most buyers expect. Every reputable shop knows how to build with React Native. What separates good engagements from poor ones is process discipline. Ask to see published apps, not just screenshots. Download them. Check the reviews, the performance on a mid-range Android device, and how recently they were updated. Ask specifically about their testing approach, code review process, and how they handle native module requirements when they surface mid-project. A partner who has shipped apps for healthcare or financial services clients understands compliance constraints that general-purpose shops often don't. According to Statista's mobile app market research, global mobile app revenue is projected to exceed $935 billion by 2025. The partner you choose shapes whether your share of that market becomes an asset or a liability. Next up, moving on to conclusion. React Native app development costs are predictable when you understand the variables. A simple MVP starts around $25,000 and takes 8 to 14 weeks. A mid-complexity production app runs $60,000 to $150,000 over 4 to 8 months. Enterprise projects scale from $150,000 to $250,000 plus with timelines of 9 to 18 months. The factors that move the number most: team geography, feature complexity, backend infrastructure choice, compliance requirements, and whether you need native modules. React Native is a proven choice for most business applications, and the framework is mature enough for enterprise-scale deployments at companies like Zomato and Microsoft. What it won't do is compensate for vague scope, a poorly designed backend, or a partner who manages scope reactively instead of proactively. Ready to get actual numbers for your project? Get a React Native project quote from Q Services. We'll give you a detailed estimate based on your real requirements, flag the cost drivers before they become surprises, and connect mobile architecture decisions to your broader Azure and Microsoft platform strategy.